Did anybody have any questions about last Sunday's meeting? No? Oh, good. So I guess everybody that was here agreed that of that spiritual order, right? And what we talked about is the wife becoming the daughter to her husband after a while. She no longer become a wife, but she is the daughter. You disagree with that?
Yes.
Okay, and why?
Well, I don't have children, so I don't know. I just, like for my mom and dad, that I don't think my mother became my father's daughter.
Oh, she didn't?
No.
Is she still living?
No.
Oh. And so because she did not become that way, you don't think it should be that way?
No, I think they co-parent, and I think God created a woman to be the helpmate for the husband.
Right.
And to help in raising the children. But, women bring in children in the world, and without women, there would be no man.
Have you noticed that once a couple is married, that the husband has to teach the wife in the same manner that he's teaching his children? It's like she is a little girl that needs to be taught.
No.
You haven't noticed that?
No.
I bet your husband has. Have you noticed that?
Oh,
See?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, uh-huh.
Just agree. No, because, I have a girlfriend that went to, they're both educated, and they both bring different assets to the marriage.
Right.
So they teach each other. Like, one knows how to cook, well, and one knows how, more about finances.
Well, he doesn't teach her those type things, how to cook or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe he does. I mean, in the sense that he may tell her how he like his meal done.
Well,
but
no,
he
I
teaches
just
her.
Like, they both love cooking, so one doesn't know how to cook as well as the other.
Yeah. But the husband teaches his wife and children about life and how to deal with life and how to see how to make right decisions without being seduced by the world. He's patient with his wife in the same manner he is with his daughters or children, because women tend to make wrong decisions.
Well, I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
I mean, my mom and dad raised us, and my mom stayed home with us before we went to first grade.
Right.
So she had a lot of wisdom in parenting that my dad didn't. And he was hands-on for parenting, but there was a lot of wisdom my mom had in dealing with children that he didn't have.
Oh, well, that's probably why he wasn't able to teach it in the right way, as though he's teaching his daughters. Because he didn't have it from his father.
Like, my mom was born in 1920s, so I think parents back then died a lot sooner, at least for my mom and dad. Both their parents died when they were 10.
Oh, man.
So they
okay.
didn't see,
That's why
they were adopted by the family, of course, where they saw other role models. But, it's just, I think it's different.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Do you agree with that about the daughter becoming the wife becoming the daughter of the husband after a while?
Yes.
You do? And why do you agree?
I've seen it, and I think that's the role that the husband, father should take.
Yeah.
Because there's things that they see that that a woman wouldn't see.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a protective thing. It's just, I've gotten that, but it's with anger.
Right.
I'm not going along with it, but if it was told to me in a different way, like, be careful of this,
Without that anger.
Without the anger.
Yes. You can't teach a person when you have anger.
Yeah.
You can't teach them truth and the right way.
Right.
When you're like that.
But I was able to see the truth later on once I dismissed the anger.
Right.
When a man was trying to tell me,
Yeah. Ernest, you had your hand?
In, is it Monica's situation? When you say he wasn't a hands-on parent, you mean as far as discipline, or did he still guide the family as far as making sound decisions? And, because he can still be influential on the family and have an impact on the family, even though he's not there being a hands-on. So I'm just wondering, where was he lacking?
I have 4 brothers and sisters, and so there's 5 in our family, and I'm the youngest. So my mom was 42 when she had me, which was old in those days. So I see videotapes or tapes of family movies of when my brothers and sisters were younger, and my dad was involved in, pushing him on the swings and a lot of life activities that I guess I kind of missed out on because
Yeah.
I was the last one. So I see that he was really involved.
Right.
I think he was older when obviously I came around, and so he was tired, I guess. But he always worked, he always hugged us and told us he loved us. But I'm saying like day-to-day decisions.
Right.
You know, my mom like took over the house as far as, you know, cleaning and cooking and organizing us. So I don't think he left, they just had different roles and they came together in their roles, but protection, et cetera, was of course my father's
Yeah.
role. But kind of my mom was the spiritual one who brought us to church and stuff.
Can you imagine yourself becoming a daughter light to your husband?
Daughter in the protective role, yeah, but,
And spiritually guiding you as well?
oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let me just read this email. This is from Herman out of somewhere.
Minnesota.
Minnesota?
Yes.
Oh, okay. He said that, I know that the Spirit of God works through the father, parentheses, husband, to the daughter, parentheses, wife, and to the children, as explained in today's service, referring to last Sunday. The wife as a daughter is a perfect way to describe marriage relationships. I have tried to explain the husband/wife relationship to my oldest son, who has been feminized over time by his controlling wife. He thinks he is being a good husband by allowing her to have this controlling spirit. I can't wait to fire off this perfect ammo learned today. That explains his responsibility toward her. He knows that I would not allow it with his mother, but one only needs to understand that he went to college where he learned worldly things, and that's where they get all that stuff from. Well, first they don't get the example in the home, and then when they go off to school, the schools are switching the relationships. They're switching the role of man and woman. And it's really wicked to see that happening, because as they weaken the man, then the world falls apart. And so I think that's why a lot of couples today would not surrender to that spiritual order of God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, woman over children. But when you really stand back and look at relationship without judgment, you see that the wife is like a daughter to her husband, in that he has to, he should, spiritually protect her and guide her and correct her, because she's very emotional and it's hard for her to make or see and do the right thing. As a matter of fact, that's why when the enemy want to come in, he destroys the man first, destroy the head of the woman, so that he can get in and deceive her and guide her in the wrong direction. And we knew this at one time, but it's not being talked about or taught today. So you don't really hear it. And then when someone comes along and say, hey, you're out of order, you think that person hate women or, or whatever, because the ego doesn't want that order to be there. But we got to talk about that order so that men and women can come back to order.
Yeah, I agree that that should be the order. I just think that women have had to stand up in, like, when the husband doesn't take the spiritual head. Like, when I was, in my family, my father didn't say, okay, let's get up and go to church. My mom would say that, and, we drag him along.
Right.
So what's the mother supposed to do? Just not go to church, or not have the kids go to church if the father doesn't take the lead?
That's a good question. What should a mother do when the father refuses to take the lead? You don't know?
I really don't know.
What do you think, Kelly? Well, hold on. Let me ask this young lady first. Yes, but what do you think the mother should do if the father is not taking the lead?
Well, somebody has to lead, so she has to do what she can to encourage him to take the lead. If he refuses, then she has to take the lead.
Yeah. And yes, Kelly.
I think first she should bring it up with her husband privately, and maybe tell him what it's doing to her when he doesn't take the lead, because I think that would inevitably lead to some sort of resentment within the woman, and say something like, I don't want to hate you, but, you refusing to take the lead is causing problems for the children.
Yeah, she should be honest with her husband, but not hate him, so that she doesn't take the lead.
Well, I think he felt cheated in life by God because his parents got taken away so early, and she got over that. So,
But he didn't.
but he didn't.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, as long as she doesn't hate him for his weakness, then she'll be okay because she would not take the lead.
right.
But she would be an example of what he should become, and eventually being that way without hating him could cause him to become that way.
Right.
Because that's
Yeah.
what love is.
Yeah, she had a big influence on
Yeah.
him, and he really missed her when she died first.
Right.
And
Yeah, I bet.
he became a Christian before he died.
Oh, good. If you want to know what it looked like when a woman take the lead because the man won't, look at the black community. We have a physical example of what can happen when women take the lead. It's in a state of emergency right now in all areas because women took the lead, but they led us straight to hell.
They
that-
didn't forgive the weakness in men.
Right, exactly.
It's
It's-
okay if you have to take the lead as long as you forgive the weakness in men.
As long as you don't hate them, that's right,
Right.
because you'll be guided then by love and you'll guide the family in the right way
Right.
rather than guiding them to hell.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anger.
But it's hard for women to do that because they don't understand how to overcome that, and not all women, but most. And then there's no one around who would tell them how to overcome it because men are afraid to tell women the truth. I was on the airplane yesterday, one day, I think it was Thursday. Today is Sunday, right? Yeah, Thursday. And so we landed in New York. You know how they pull up to the gate and they finally shut the plane down. So it kind of a little quiet. People getting off. So I got on my cell phone and I said, I told you to stop arguing with your wife. I said men should not argue with women because they take your life that way. They'll kill you.
No flanker.
And I said, what else I said? And then it said, but it sounded like the person said, well, I'm not married to a black woman, right? And so I said, well, it's not, it doesn't matter the color of the woman. They're all like that. And man, you could just feel the tension in the plane. The guy was like afraid, you know, they were like laughing under their breath. And women rolling their eyes. I mean, you could just, it was like you could cut through the tension.
Yeah.
And so there was a guy sitting next to me who didn't know me, of course. And I said, and he was like laughing, like quietly laughing, right? And I said, do you agree with me, man? I said, aren't they all crazy? And he said, I can't argue that point. But I realized how afraid, when it comes to dealing with women and what's really going on, how afraid men are about that. And they're afraid because they don't know how to handle that anger that's going to come out of the woman when you tell the truth like that. It was like, even when I got ready to get my bag out of the holder there, it's like everybody part, like the water parted. And I was in the whole aisle by myself. Yeah, it was like, wow. It was amazing to see that.
But I think you also have to understand that, you know, like put yourself in the woman's place. So let's say you got married, you just, you know, ruined your figure, you had a couple of kids.
You ruined your what?
Figure.
Oh,
Which are important to women.
Right.
And I mean, this is the way I thought about it growing up. I mean, you like give your whole life to this man, and maybe you should be like giving it to Christ, and then man second, you know what I mean? Like him the focus versus man.
Well, when you give it to your husband, your life, you are giving it to Christ.
Right.
When you
But
respect
then,
him.
I mean, what I saw growing up is you see these men, white, black, didn't matter, cheating on the wife,
Yeah.
totally crashing their world.
Yeah.
Here, I
that's
gave
a- yeah.
everything for you. And they left, and even if you didn't have anger, but the woman had to learn to be the man and the woman by
Yeah.
necessity.
Well, she's not learning to be a man. She can never
Well,
learn.
no, but you know what I mean.
And I hear
Be
that
the head
phrase
of the
a lot.
household.
Yeah, to run the house. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
The worst thing that can happen to a wife, there are many worse things, but when they cheat on them, a man should never, ever, ever, but it's like Christ cheating on
Just
me.
say, I want to get divorced, okay?
Right.
You know, then
Yeah.
we'll talk through things and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But, I mean, I saw that
You're
happen
totally
over
right.
and over again, and I think that's why I didn't have children, because I know it's gonna happen. They're, you know, my husband's
Yeah.
gonna leave me, and then I'm gonna be stuck with this disaster that I've seen happen over and over and over.
Right.
Again, my parents, it didn't happen to.
Yeah.
But-
Your husband didn't cheat on your father did not cheat on
No.
your mother. Oh, good.
No.
Yeah.
So it didn't happen, but I saw like their friends.
Did someone cheat on you?
No,
So you've never been cheated on.
no.
So you just have this fear of it because you've seen it happen to your friends?
Yeah, I just see like,
Oh.
and my mother's friends, I mean, and like my girlfriend's parents, I saw it happen a lot too.
Oh.
Like our
But it doesn't mean it's going to happen to you, though.
No, but I just thought, wow, you're putting everything in that, and it's a big risk. That's what it taught me subconsciously.
Oh, I see.
It's like, wow, you know, it's just, you give everything to that relationship, and at any minute, it could just explode.
That's why it's good to let God add a man unto you
Yeah.
rather than going out looking for a man.
Exactly.
And a lot of women look for men and they choose the wrong one.
I've done that too.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yes, Doug.
We have an email from a listener named Pat. He says, taking kids to church is not an example of leadership.
A good point. Good point.
Well, yeah, I guess so, but when I was growing up, it was taught that way. But my
Yeah.
father was a good leader in, you know, his work ethic. He always provided for us, he always protected us, he disciplined us.
You know, I think the reason that a lot of women take their children to church is because they don't have a husband that they can trust in, and they're looking for help. You know, and unfortunately, they go to church and the preacher's weak. But they're really looking for help in how to deal with life, how to deal with their children. They're not getting it for the most part. But I think that's why a lot of women, because I noticed that the moment I popped out of my mother's womb, the next day I was sitting up in a church. We were from the hospital. Well, I was born at home though, but we were from the home to the church. I don't ever remember not going to church.
Well, maybe there's no one left at home to babysit you, so you had to go to church.
That may have been a part of it too. But yes, sir.
As a small boy, I had three brothers. When we grew up in Detroit, my dad took us to church. We went to Sunday school, and my father was the superintendent of Sunday school.
Yeah.
We went to Sunday school, and then after Sunday school, we went to church, and you know, we sat next to our dad in church, and sometimes my mom went, you know, but and sometimes she didn't. And then with my daughter, as I started raising my daughter, you know, my daughter came to church and every Sunday, and my ex-wife, she's my wife then, she was actually an AME preacher then, she was preaching then. And so, you know, our daughter came to church every Sunday, and you know, and all the other kids there. So I thought it was a really, you know, growing up in the church, I've always thought it was a positive way to help, you know, guide and
Yeah.
you know, help, you know, make sure.
It is good. I like it too if the father, it seemed to me more if the father take their kids to church. For some reason, there's something else, there's strength in that or something because you're with your father, you know. So I think, and it is important to go to church, it's good to do it, to have that fellowship, to learn, but the problem is the preachers are not telling the truth anymore. You know, in the good old days when boys were boys and men were men, the preachers for the most part told the truth, so church had a different meaning.
Right.
And it doesn't have that same meaning anymore. Because I look at, in my community, you know, the black community, for example, everybody and their mama go to church. But look how messed up everybody. They're getting worse instead of getting better. So it's just not working.
Well, either that or they could be telling the truth and it just isn't going in and coming out of their life. Their walk in life isn't illustrating what they've learned. They haven't digested what they've learned. They haven't put it into action.
Well, they read the Bible to you, and then they quote the scriptures. So they're saying what's in the Bible, but it doesn't have any meaning to it. It doesn't have any life in it. It's just like going to college and learning that 2 + 2 is 4, but it doesn't give you life. And so a lot of the preachers are just reading the Bible. They learn the Bible, come back and read it to you. And that's what the people are getting. And that's why you don't see a real change happening. Now, some people are stubborn anyway. Even if Jesus Christ walked in and laid truth on them, they won't get it. So you do have that going on too, and I don't want to deny that. But I have, I've had a truckload of these preachers on my radio show. And I just had one on Friday, on Thursday, out of Detroit. A major preacher in Detroit, black guy. And the guy just lost. He associated the mayor, Kirkpatrick, who was in jail, in prison, a thug, a criminal. In his sermon, he put him in the same category as Dr. King and Gandhi and people like that in the church.
Yeah, that's crazy.
In the
There are
church.
churches that I've been to that.
But he's a doctor, he's a Reverend-Doctor, so-and-so and so-and-so. And he has one of those major churches there in Detroit. And so I'm having this guy on my show, and he just all lies. All lies, all in the name of Jesus. But he knows the Bible.
What does he say when you catch him and when you confront him on the lie?
I'm judging.
Challenge him?
You tell me not to judge. Don't judge.
He has no responsibility to tell the truth.
And then they start comparing me to Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and the smartest white man on this side of heaven. But it's amazing to see this happening. And it's happening all over the country. And people don't see what's happening. It's just mind-blowing to me to see it.
Well, God says, towards the end of time, there'll be a lot of false prophets.
Yeah.
You need to test it against His Word.
But it's so amazing how blind the people are. People are literally blind. I mean, just blind. And everywhere I go now, I see it more and more and more and more and more. And I'll give you an example of that in a minute. But did I see your hand, Frankie, a while back?
It passed.
It passed? Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. Could it be, I may have said this before, but could it be possible people, majority of the people on this planet want to be blind, want to see things the way they want to, and not...
That's a good question. If they want to be blind. I don't think they want to. Now, of course, some people want to live in their hell. They love their pleasures and, they love the things that are wrong and they don't want to be awakening. They love it. But I think a lot of people want to wake up. I think they want what's right. It's just that, it's hard to find that right person to bring it to them with love that would awaken them. Because I noticed that when you talk to some people, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. But for some reason, because they're sin, they weren't able to see it and figure it out. So a lot of people will not find it, but there are people who want to overcome that.
So it's just to find a proper guide to lead.
Yes, to wake them up, to point them to the source that awaken them. That's what's needed.